for this card. I'm very excited. I don't think I've done as much tape study as I have for this card, and I probably overthought these matches way too much, and I'm probably going to get every single pick wrong, but I have faith. I have faith that I've done my homework and that I'm going to get every single fight on the main card right. And if I'm not right, I'll at least get the breakdown right, because obviously anything can really happen on any given night. We don't know if a fighter's going into their fights injured with a staph infection or whatever it may be. And I feel like this is one of those cards where it's really gonna matter the condition of the fighter going into the fight, because these fights are so competitive, they're so high level, that I think it's really gonna come down to the unknown. Even though I've gone back and rewatched so much tape, I've taken so many notes. I mean, I have pages and pages and pages of notes here for every single fight on the main card, and I feel like I've done a good job, guys. I feel like I've done a good job. But I mean, look at this card. Truly look at this card. Moment of silence for how good this card is. It's so good. It's so good, man. I love this card. I love this card. Like I said, I cannot wait for this card. I'm sure you guys cannot wait for this card. And make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Like I said, I've really done my homework for this main card. I don't want to make a 50 to an hour minute video. Hour minute video? Did I just say hour minute video? I don't want to make a 50-minute to an hour video breaking down every single prelim fight, even though the prelims are amazing as well. But I'm gonna be honest, like, did I really go back and watch tape? I mean, I've seen Pat Sabatini fight, but I haven't really gone back and rewatched tape. I'm not gonna watch tape on Angela Hill, even though I've seen her fights. So I don't want to give you guys vanilla breakdowns. I really want to give you guys an in-depth breakdown, and I've done my homework for the main card. So let's get started. So the first fight on the main card, we have Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint Denis, and I think this is a very interesting matchup because I feel like these fighters are very similar. I mean, both of them fight from southpaw. Both of them are slow twitch in my opinion. Both of them are not that defensively sound. Both of these fighters were coming off a 2-fight losing skid where they moved up or they fought somebody higher in the rankings. Both of these fighters are coming off a pretty good win in their career. So I feel like both of these fighters, it's kind of like a mirror matchup if I'm being honest. And I think that a lot of people are underestimating Beneil Dariush because Beneil Dariush is one of the best grapplers in the lightweight division. I mean, we saw in his fight against Matthias Gamrot, he gave Matthias Gamrot a lot of problems, and we saw that he was the better striker in that matchup. And I feel like Benoit Saint Denis, yes, he beat Mauricio Ruffi, which is a pretty good win, but if you look at his last couple of wins, he's kind of been relying on his grappling, he's been relying on his submission skills, and I just don't think his grappling is at the level of someone like Beneil Dariush. I don't think he's going to be able to submit someone like Beneil Dariush. And I think that this fight on the feet becomes kind of a 50-50 fight. Now, the argument against Beneil Dariush in this matchup is that he's not very durable, right? That he's got dropped by Renato Moicano at the end of that first round in his last fight. Before that, he got knocked out by Armin Saryukin. Before that, he had gotten knocked out by Charles Oliveira. He's been knocked out by guys like Alexander Hernandez. But my counter argument to that is that if you look at the guys that have been knocking out Beneil Dariush, they're guys that are quick twitch, that are very explosive, that have a lot of finesse when it comes to the striking, and I just don't see that from Benoit Saint Denis. Benoit Saint Denis has the warrior spirit, he pressures, but he doesn't really set up his strikes. He throws body kicks, he kind of lunges forward, he's not very defensively sound, and I wouldn't even be surprised here if Beneil Dariush is a more technical guy on the feet, and I feel like Beneil Dariush has more power when it comes to his hands than someone like Benoit Saint Denis here. So I feel like I'm kind of taking out the grappling here because I feel like Beneil Dariush is the better grappler. I wouldn't even be surprised if Beneil Dariush shoots takedowns. The only thing that concerns me is that Benoit Saint Denis, he likes to pressure, and Beneil Dariush is kind of somebody that likes to fight on the back foot. But I mean, we saw in the fight against Matthias Gamrot that Beneil Dariush has power, man. He can strike. I mean, we saw his fight against Drakkar Klose that if Beneil Dariush gets into a scrap, the guy has power. The guy truly has power. He is explosive, even though for most of his strikes, he is kind of slow twitch. He has good low kicks. He has good body kicks. And I feel like his boxing is a little bit underrated. I feel like Beneil Dariush tends to have problems with strikers that are very fast, that have a speed advantage over him. And I just don't see Benoit Saint Denis having such a massive speed over Beneil Dariush when it comes to the striking. So I'm going to go with Beneil Dariush. I'm going to go with the underdog here. I like this matchup for Beneil Dariush. Obviously, I am a little bit worried about his age, his chin here, but I'm going to trust in Beneil Dariush to get the win, and I think this is going to be a fantastic fight. I think this is going to be a fight that takes place on the feet, and I think we're going to get a finish, man. I don't really see this fight going the distance unless there's a lot of grappling involved, and I feel like if there's a lot of grappling involved in this fight, I think it's going to favor Beneil Dariush. So the next fight we have here is Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. And I'm just going to cut to the chase, man. You guys are overthinking this matchup. I see a lot of people doubting their Carlos Prates pick. And I feel like, I hope that by the end of this breakdown, I convince you or I give you some more confidence in your Carlos Prates pick, because everybody's picking Carlos Prates. And I'm going to justify that because I see a lot of people trying to say, oh, Leon Edwards is a former champion. He's finally facing someone who's not a grappler. He's going to be able to strike freely, yada yada. And I find that so funny. I find that so funny because ironically, Leon Edwards is going to become a wrestler in this matchup. He's going to try to hold Carlos Prates up against the fence, try to take him down, try to control him, and do a bunch of nothing to win this matchup. And I think that Carlos Prates here, he's going to be the better striker. He's the more powerful striker. He's going to be the ranger striker. I feel like these guys are about the same height here. I feel like Carlos Prates has better distance management. Maybe Leon Edwards is more technical. But the problem for Leon Edwards on the feet in this matchup is that he doesn't have high output. He doesn't have a lot of power. And if you don't have high volume, Carlos Prates is going to be walking forward. He's going to be pressuring you, and he's going to land the better shots. Maybe Leon Edwards is a more technical fighter, but I just don't see him having enough output here to beat Carlos Prates on the feet. And Carlos Prates just needs one combination, one good right hand or left hand to put Leon Edwards in a coffin. Because I've seen Leon Edwards get stunned by Belal Muhammad uppercuts. I've seen Leon Edwards get dropped by Nate Diaz or get stunned by Nate Diaz. And those guys are not at the level, don't have the power of someone like Carlos Prates on the feet. And I'm not saying that Carlos Prates is some perfect fighter, but I feel like the guys that are going to give Carlos Prates problems are guys that are going to get in Carlos Prates' face and throw a lot of shots and mix it up and throw, have high volume. I mean, we saw in the fight against Ian Gary. Ian Gary had a very good approach against Carlos Prates, which is kind of overwhelm Carlos Prates and then kind of make Carlos Prates a reactionary fighter, kind of make him react and not really throw as much, because sometimes Carlos Prates does rely too much on the knockout here. But when I look at Leon Edwards' striking numbers and when I look at his volume, I just don't see how he outstrikes Carlos Prates. And even if he does outstrike Carlos Prates, let's say he has a different approach here, I feel like Carlos Prates has enough power to beat someone like Leon Edwards. And Prates is coming off his win over Jeff Neal, and I feel like people don't mention that Jeff Neal was actually doing very well against Carlos Prates before he got knocked out. And Jeff Neal, I think, has more raw power than someone like Leon Edwards here. So I don't know, man. And then Carlos Prates does have good, takedown defense. I don't see Leon just taking him down and controlling him on the ground. So, ironically, Leon Edwards has been asking for a striker, and I feel like this is the worst striking matchup he could have gotten. And I just think Prates is going to knock him out, man. I just think he's going to knock him out. I feel like you guys are overthinking it. I mean, we saw Belal Muhammad be able to give Leon Edwards problems on the feet in the rematch. So, and even when Leon is winning on the feet like he did against Colby Covington, where he was comfortably winning in the striking in the first 2 rounds, he doesn't have that killer instinct. He doesn't have that dog in him. And I just don't see how he wins this matchup, honestly, because if you don't have that dog, if you don't have high output, if you don't pressure Carlos Prates and get in his face and really mix up your combinations, I just don't see how you beat him. I just don't see how you beat him in the striking. And I just don't think Leon Edwards is going to be able to control someone like Carlos Prates on the ground. And, Carlos Prates is going to have a reach advantage. He has a power advantage. I mean, we saw how he knocked out Neil Magny. We saw how he just knocked out Jeff Neal. And he even almost, finished Ian Gary at the end of their fight. And, Ian Gary had a very different approach to Leon Edwards' style. You know what I'm saying? Like, Leon Edwards is somebody who likes to be in a technical fight, who doesn't throw a lot of shots, who likes to have good distance management. And now he's fighting somebody who's just as tall as him, who's more powerful than him, and who's also very rangy. I just have to go with Carlos Prates, man. I feel like This is one of my most confident picks on the main card. Yes, maybe Leon Edwards could win a decision here by kind of mixing it up and kind of making it a boring fight and holding Carlos Prates up against the fence. But I feel like Prates is a lot better than that. So I feel like you guys should not overthink this matchup. Prates is a pick. He's going to knock out Leon and put him in a coffin. And then on top of that, I feel like Leon Edwards is an idiot. He doesn't have the best fight IQ. I mean, we saw in his fight against Sean Brady that the man decided to shoot for the takedown in the 4th round. Like, who the fuck does that against Sean Brady? Like, Leon is kind of an idiot. Like, I'm just going to be straight up. He doesn't strike me as a very smart guy. Yes, he will kick my ass. I know you guys are going to send the comments, oh, how are you going to talk shit about a fighter that will kick your ass? I get it. But Leon Edwards doesn't have good fight IQ. Even in the fight against Colby Covington, the guy decided to shoot for a takedown. It's like, why would you shoot a takedown against Colby Covington? Maybe try to finish him on the feet. So Leon Edwards is an idiot, which is why I'm very confident that Carlos Prates is probably going to finish this guy. Now, to me, this is the hardest matchup to predict, maybe besides the co-main event, which I'll get to. Sean Brady versus Michael Morales is an interesting matchup. Like I said in my last video, I feel like this is a fight that you should stay away from unless you have a really strong conviction. I really do feel like this fight is basically a coin toss. And the reason why I'm having a hard time truly being confident, truly having strong conviction about a pick here is because Michael Morales, in my opinion, is untested. He beat a washed up version of Gilbert Burns. He hasn't faced anybody truly good in the welterweight division. And then Sean Brady here, yes, he's looked very good in his last couple of performances, but I cannot shake the image that he got TKO by Belal Muhammad. And Michael Morales is somebody who is very strong on the feet, who has really good power on the feet, who has a really good jab, who's very, very confident, who's very, very powerful on the feet. Somebody who's more powerful, I think, someone more powerful than Leon, someone more powerful than Kelvin Gastelum. I think more powerful than someone like Gilbert Burns at this point in his career, who doesn't really set up his shots all that well. And that is why, to me, this fight is so difficult, because I could see a scenario here where Sean Brady makes this fight kind of boring, holds Michael Morales up against the fence, gets in his face, takes him down, maybe he's not able to submit him, but has enough control time to win the round, or maybe even find a submission, because Sean Brady is one of the best grapplers in the UFC. He has really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but in that same token, Michael Morales comes from a wrestling background. He's been wrestling all his life and then became a really good striker, and on the feet, he has a lot of power, man. He has a lot of power. I think he's powerful enough to knock out someone like Sean Brady and hurt him on the feet, and he just needs one shot to really start to hurt Sean Brady, and then Sean Brady is going to start to will. He's going to get back up against the fence. He's going to cover up, and then I could see Michael Morales just winning by a TKO here. So that is why this fight is so difficult for me, because I'm not that high on Michael Morales. Like, I don't feel like his fights are that impressive. Yeah, he's very strong, he's very athletic, but at the same time, I'm like, well, you're beating a lightweight Gilbert Burns, who is way past his prime, who doesn't look that good. And I'm just like, but Sean Brady, you know, he's coming off that win over Leon Edwards, but at the same time, I'm like, I feel like Michael Morales is going to have more finesse and power on the feet than someone like Leon, who likes to be in a very technical fight. And I guess for me, the fight really comes down to who implements their game plan. I feel like Sean Brady here is going to have to pressure Michael Morales, get him back up against the fence, and mix it up with the striking here, and then just kind of like overwhelm Michael Morales, where Michael Morales just doesn't have time to react and really counter Sean Brady, and then just kind of become a reactionary fighter. Or I could see Michael Morales, you know, stepping, you know, taking the middle of the octagon and just throwing some big shots at Sean Brady, who I wouldn't say he's that defensively sound. Yeah, Sean Brady has improved his boxing, and he definitely has fast hands here. I mean, he doesn't have enough power to like hurt someone like Michael Morales. This is a tough fight, man. This is a tough fight. I'm going to go with Sean Brady. I'm going to go with Sean Brady because I trust his mindset. I love the fact that this guy is willing to fight anybody in the welterweight division. If you think about it, Sean Brady should have fought somebody higher up in the rankings coming off a win over Leon Edwards. He probably should have fought a Kamaru Usman. He should have fought a Shavkat Ramanov. But no, the guy decided to take a fight against a young contender who we don't really know too much about, because he hasn't really faced like the top level competition. So there's a lot more tape on Sean Brady than there is on Michael Morales. It's really hard to tell what his potential is, in my opinion, in the welterweight division. And I feel like this is going to be the test. So I'm going to go with Sean Brady here. I think that if Morales knocks him out, I'll definitely put some respect on his name and I'll be like, okay, you know what? Morales is the real deal. But this is the first test of Michael Morales. So I feel like if you're picking Michael Morales, I mean, you're kind of basing it on the fact that Sean Brady has gotten TKO by Bilal Muhammad. And like I said, that's not a very good look. But I don't know, man. I could see Michael Morales maybe, not really setting up his strikes and then Sean Brady taking advantage of that and just kind of getting in his face, holding him up against the fence and just taking him down and just wasting a lot of minutes of the fight. I feel like maybe Sean Brady is going to get a lot of criticism after this fight because I could see him making this fight kind of boring, if I'm being honest. Just kind of trying to hold Michael Morales, maybe a performance similar to the one Merab Dvalishvili had against Jose Aldo. I could see that kind of fight here. I don't think this is going to be a barn burner. I really don't. Unless Michael Morales gets a finish and maybe Sean Brady entertains the striking. But I think Sean Brady is a very smart guy. I think he's going to shoot for takedowns. I think he's going to get in Morales' face. And I don't think he's going to give him the distance, the space to really land those big shots that Morales could land. So I'm very curious. I'm very curious to see maybe Sean Brady takes him down in that first round, controls him, and then Morales maybe is a little bit tired. Maybe he doesn't have the best cardio here. So I'm going to go with Sean Brady. I'm going to go with Sean Brady here. I feel like if Morales wins, then I'll finally be like, okay, this guy is truly elite in the welterweight division. But I just feel like I just can't pick him. I feel like if I pick him, I'm just kind of picking him based on the fact that Sean Brady has been TKO'd by Bilal Muhammad, when I think Sean Brady has showed that his grappling is on another level. He's showing that his striking has improved. And I like his mindset. I really like his mindset, guys. So I'm going to go with Sean Brady to win this fight. I could see a submission. I could see a decision. Michael Morales is pretty decent on the ground. I know that lately he's been kind of relying on his power and his striking here, but don't be surprised if Morales knocks him out either. That is why I feel like I'm staying away from this fight. I'm really staying away from this fight because it's a coin toss. It's truly a coin toss. It's really going to matter what happens in the fight, and every fight is like a movie. Things go up and down, and I could see Sean Brady maybe winning the first round very dominantly. Morales lands a big shot in the second round and then is able to finish him up against the fence. That's a possibility here. So this is a tough fight. I love this fight for the welterweight division, and huge respect for Sean Brady for taking this fight. And like I said, I feel like this is going to be the first test in Morales' UFC career. So I'm very excited for this matchup, but I have to go with Sean Brady to get it done. So we're finally at the co-main event. We got Valentina Shevchenko fighting Yang Weili. And this is a tough fight, man. This is truly a tough fight to predict because both of these girls are so good. Both of these fighters are so good, and both of them deserve so much respect for everything they've done in their career. And I feel like, maybe the Amanda Nunes Kayla Harrison fight is going to be more exciting, but I feel like this is the most skilled fight in the women's weight classes. I truly do feel that way. But this fight is a tough one, man. Yang Weili obviously is moving up to the flyweight division to challenge Valentina Shevchenko. And the reason why I find this fight so difficult to predict, because initially I was leaning Valentina Shevchenko to win by a decision, and maybe that will still be my pick here. I think Yang Weili is faster. I think she's had better performances than Valentina Shevchenko. I think that she has more momentum in her career. I think she has more raw power with her hands. I think that Yang Weili has become a true mixed martial artist. She has, good takedown defense. She's good on the ground. She has good submission ability. And when I look at Valentina Shevchenko, yes, she's a little bit the taller fighter. I think she's going to have, an advantage when it comes to the range. But I feel like she's slowed down just a tad bit. I mean, even in that Manon Fiora where she had a very good first round, I felt like she kind of gave Manon the opportunity to come back in that fight. And at the end of that fight actually became closer than I was kind of expecting. And that kind of concerns me because Yang Weili has very good cardio. She has a lot of power. And I could see her giving problems to Valentina on the feet with the speed. But the thing that's holding me back from picking Yang Weili in this matchup is that I feel like Valentina, she's very good at range. She has really good body kicks. She has really good head kicks, which we've seen give Yang Weili problems. And her hands look really good against Manenfield. I was just rewatching that fight, and her jab looked decent. She has a good left hand. And I could see her stunning Yang Weili. I mean, we saw Yang Yonan give Yang Weili problems a little bit on the feet in that matchup. I know she technically submitted Yang Yonan at the end of the first round and the fight should have been stopped. But that fight actually became very competitive if you go back and rewatch it. And Yang Yonan did very good on the feet. And I could see Valentina Shevchenko giving Yang Weili problems because I don't know if Yang Weili can take down Valentina Shevchenko in this matchup. I just don't know if she can. And because of that, I'm going to go with Valentina Shevchenko to win this matchup, man. I want to pick Yang Weili. I prefer Yang Weili winning. I like her way more than Valentina Shevchenko. But I think Valentina Shevchenko is a little bit underrated. I think that, yeah, Yang Weili has power, but we haven't really seen it in her last couple of fights. It's not like she was knocking out girls left and right. I mean, she didn't knock out Tatiana Suarez. She didn't knock out Amanda Lemos. She didn't knock out Yang Yanan. And like I said, if you go back and rewatch that Yang Yanan fight, it became very competitive here. And I think Valentina, you know, she has good takedown defense. She has good offensive wrestling. I don't see her trying to take down Yang Weili. I think she's gonna play the range game and just try to throw body kicks, try to throw head kicks, and kind of mix it up on the feet and just kind of counter strike Yang Weili coming in because she's slightly the taller fighter. She's gonna have a reach advantage. So I'm gonna go with Valentina Shevchenko to win this matchup. I'm gonna be rooting for Yang Weili here. I don't know if I'm gonna bet this fight. It might be a fight that I stay away from. Maybe you want to bet the rounds. Maybe it goes over 2.5 rounds, but who knows? I could see a finish in this fight. Ironically enough, I know it's a women's fight, and you know most of the time those fights go to a decision. But don't be surprised here if there's a finish because I think this fight is gonna play more on the feet than we're expecting.
Okay, now we're going to the main event, which is Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev. Most definitely Jack Della Maddalena will win. I just have this gut feeling that he just has it. This picture clearly shows that he's just gonna rock Islam, send him back to Russia, go fuck the goats like he always does. But yeah.
Hey, what are you doing here? I'm gonna break down this fight. Get out of here. Get out of here. Now let's talk about the main event. We have Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. And man, oh man, this is a fight that matters. This is the most important fight on the card. I've been thinking about this matchup for months. I think we've all been thinking about this matchup for months. So who's gonna win this fight, right? You want me to be confident. I'm going to go with Jack Della Maddalena to win this fight. I'm going to go with Jack. I know I made a video. If you guys subscribe to my channel, click the like button, subscribe if you're new. You know that I made a video saying that JDM is just a problem for Islam. And I'm going to kind of repeat some of the stuff that I said in that video. I believe that if Islam Makhachev doesn't submit JDM in those first 2 rounds, this is going to be a tough fight for him. Because I think JDM has better cardio. I think he's more durable. I think he's better on the feet than a lot of guys that Islam has been facing. I mean, he's better than Moicano on the feet. I think he's faster and more defensively sound and more dangerous than Dustin Poirier. Before that, who did Islam fight? Volkanovski on short notice. Okay, Volkanovski's a featherweight and he's shorter and he has a big head and he doesn't respond well to head kicks. Do you see Islam knocking out JDM with a head kick? No, you don't. And then what happened before that? Islam had a very competitive fight against Alexander Volkanovski where he wasn't able to submit him that easily. And, you know, Volkanovski almost dropped him and almost finished him. I mean, he kind of stunned him at the end of the fifth. I think it was like the last minute of the 5th round. And Volkanovski was on top landing shots on Islam Makhachev. And Islam is not a fighter that takes damage very well. So I'm going to go with JDM. Obviously, I think Islam is superior when it comes to the grappling, to the submission ability than someone like Belal Muhammad. I think he has better fight IQ than someone like Belal Muhammad. And I think that the reason why Belal Muhammad also didn't do that well against Jack Della Maddalena, which is why when that fight first got announced, initially when that fight first got announced between JDM and Belal Muhammad, I was picking Belal Muhammad, right? I was like, man, I've seen JDM get taken down by Gilbert Burns. I saw the fight with Rafa Hafez. But when we got closer to the fight between JDM and Belal, I actually switched my pick to JDM. And the reason for that is because I was like, okay, Belal Muhammad is somebody who likes to pressure, who needs to pressure, who needs to throw a lot of volume. And I feel like if he gets in Jack Della Maddalena's face, JDM has better striking. He's more durable. And I just think he's going to outstrike Bilal Muhammad, which is why I changed my pick to JDM. And that's exactly what happened. But here, Islam is a very different fighter. Islam is somebody who likes to fight on the back foot, who's a very counter striker, who has good hands. I don't think he has a knockout threat to really hurt JDM on the feet. So I'm very curious to see how how Makhachev approaches this fight. Is he really going to pressure JDM and get in his face and start striking? I don't think so. I think that Islam Makhachev is going to need to grapple in those first couple of rounds, and I think JDM is going to come prepared. I think he's going to be able to survive, you know, getting submitted here. I mean, if he makes a mistake in a scramble, it could be over. I'm not saying that Islam Makhachev has no chance here, but what I'm saying is that when I look at Islam Makhachev's last opponents, I don't think it's good that Islam is coming off a Moicano win. The fact that he just had a very easy fight against Moicano, if he would have fought Armin Saryukin here, I would like Islam's chances a little bit better. But because he just had a very easy fight against Moicano where, I mean, he didn't really face that much adversity. And then before that, he went 4.5 rounds against Dustin Poirier, who we've seen get submitted by Charles Oliveira, who we've seen get submitted by Khabib Nurmagomedov earlier inside 3 rounds. And Islam went 4 rounds with 4.5 rounds with Dustin Poirier. And I don't care what you say, that's a slower, not a prime version of Dustin Poirier. I mean, that is a grandma hips Dustin Poirier who his striking has definitely, declined. And if you don't believe me, like I said in my last video, go rewatch Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier, the first fight. Go rewatch Dustin Poirier versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, the first fight, and you're gonna tell that Dustin Poirier has definitely declined when it comes to his boxing, when it comes to his speed, when it comes to his power. And that version of Dustin Poirier was still able to put a fight against current Islam Makhachev. You know what I'm saying? So I think JDM is better than Dustin Poirier. I think he's more dangerous than Dustin Poirier. I think he's more durable than Dustin Poirier. I think he has better takedown defense than Dustin Poirier. And I like the fact that he's training with Craig Jones. I really like it. And I think that if this fight stays on the feet, I'm not saying Islam won't land or he can't have success on the feet. But a JDM, if he starts pressuring and landing combinations on Islam Makhachev, I just don't see Islam Makhachev being able to take the punishment. I think Islam is somebody who gets bruised up very easily, who starts bleeding a lot. And I just have to go with JDM to win this matchup, man. I think that those first 2 rounds are going to be very hard. And obviously, if he gets submitted in the first 2 rounds, I mean, it's over. And it's going to show that obviously JDM hasn't fought somebody at the level of Islam Makhachev. But I'm trusting in JDM's ability to survive on the ground, to train for specifics. And I just think that on the feet, he's a more durable fighter. I do worry a little bit about his head movement because I think Islam Makhachev can capitalize with a head kick, with a knee up the middle, if JDM isn't careful with that head movement. But I think JDM is improving from fight to fight here. That's something that I also want to mention. I think JDM is improving from fight to fight, and every fight should be judged stylistically. I know a lot of people are underestimating JDM because he went to a split decision with Kevin Holland. But if you think about it, Kevin Holland is a long-range striker with a lot of power. It's a different stylistic matchup there. I know he went to a split decision with Rafa Hafez, but that was a fight that was on short notice. He was preparing for Sean Brady. He had to cut weight, I believe, twice. So I don't want to count that against JDM. Same with Islam Makhachev. A lot of Islam Makhachev's wins have an asterisk on them, but you cannot blame Islam Makhachev for that. I know that the Moicano fight was on short notice for Renato Moicano. He was supposed to fight Armin Saryukin. Before that, he kind of fought Dustin Poirier on 6 weeks notice, and it really wasn't fair for Dustin Poirier. Technically, Armin Saryukin should have fought Islam Makhachev at the time, but Armin didn't want to step in on short notice to fight Islam Makhachev. Before that, he fought Volkanovski on short notice. Prior to that, he fought Volkanovski the first fight in Perth, and he kind of had a bad weight cut, and you know all the excuses that they make. So I just think that this is a different fight, man. I think JDM is his hardest fight yet. I think that if he gets through JDM, he's the GOAT. I'm just going to cut to the chase. If he beats JDM, he's the GOAT. And that is how highly I rate Jack Della Maddalena. Like, I'm not gonna be one of those guys that if Islam submits JDM, I'm not gonna come out here and say, yo, JDM sucks. He was never that good. I was wrong. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say, you know what? Islam Makhachev is truly the GOAT. He's that special. But I think JDM is gonna get it done. Now, obviously, the unknown is how is Islam Makhachev going to look at 170? Is he going to be more durable? Is he going to have better cardio? Is he going to be just as strong to take someone like Jack Della Maddalena, who is a little bit taller than him? I mean, just by an inch. These guys are basically the same height, but I mean, JDM is used to fighting welterweights. Like, how's the power really going to affect Islam? Is Islam really going to be able to take shots from a welterweight who has really good boxing from JDM? So those are questions that we don't have the answers to. That's definitely an unknown element. Maybe Islam goes out here and his cardio and his chin is just a lot better than it is at 155. Not necessarily saying that he has a bad chin here, but I think he definitely has a weaker chin than someone like JDA. Maybe he has more power on the feet. I mean, we don't know. Those are things that obviously I can't really know until we see the fight on Saturday. But I trust in JDM's ability to survive on the ground. I trust in his ability. Maybe I could see Islam winning this fight even if he doesn't get a submission by just kind of controlling JDM. But the problem with JDM here, I mean not JDM, the problem for Islam in this fight is that JDM is a type of fighter who can be losing on the scorecards and still be dangerous enough to get a finish. I mean, we saw that against Gilbert Burns. He was down 2 rounds, he had a broken hand, and he was still able to finish Gilbert Burns in the 3rd round. So it shows that Jack Della Maddalena has really good composure in his fights, that he knows how to win fights. Even if he's losing rounds, he's not a guy that wilts. He has an unbreakable spirit, which is why I find this fight very difficult for Islam, because if JDM does good in the grappling, I don't see how Islam wins. So that's why I have to go with Jack Della Maddalena to win this matchup, because like I said, if he does really good in the grappling, I just think that on the feet, JDM is a different animal. He has really good pop. I mean, he even said in his Bilal Muhammad, after his Bilal Muhammad fight, that he could have finished Bilal Muhammad if he pulled the trigger. I feel for like this fight, he understands that Islam is such a threat on the ground that I think we're going to see a more dangerous version of JDM on the feet when it comes to the boxing, when it comes to getting in his face. And I just don't think Islam could take the shots that Bilal Muhammad took in that fight. So for that reason, I'm going to go with JDM to win this fight. He's an underdog. I picked a lot of underdogs for the main card, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one.